when we talk about the mechanics of a wing choke here. Sometimes when you're on someone's back, it's nice to slump them down a bit. Like a lot of times we're hip to hip and chest to chest, but I'm actually going to scoot my hips back a bit and drop Russell into that hole. Most of the time we're going to go one direction or the other, but to show this choke, I'm going to pretend that that's not happening. I'm going to reach into this collar, and sometimes I want a big bite, but if I can't get it, I'm going to take my other hand and go below this grip, and then I'm going to zip tie it. So I just loosen this grip just enough to be able to pull it down, and that puts my wrist right into Russell's neck. Now, to finish this choke, I need to get this hand behind his head. So I'm going to reach up, put my hand behind his head, and now I'm going to pull my elbows into my ribs. Notice I don't wing out like this, because that's much harder to finish. But if I pull my elbows down and into me, the finish is right there. So a couple of things to make that a little bit easier. As I'm going for this zip tie, Russell is going to be fighting this hand. He does not want any of this. And he certainly doesn't want me to drive this behind his head. So if I can get this palm grip here where I'm like behind his pinky bone, that's not a pinky bone, his fifth metatarsal, I'm going to turn his hand out. And now as he's fighting that, it's much weaker to go up. It's much harder for him to stop me from going up. And now from here I pull my elbows in, and the choke is right there. So it'd be great if he stayed right there, but he probably won't. Let's scoot 2 inches this way. And here is what usually happens is we end up here. And I grab this and I pull this and I end up with my hand behind his head. But now it's hard. The ground's in my way to pull my elbow towards me. So I'm gonna have to move away from this choke. So I separate my chest from his back and push him together. I'm also pulling my legs in towards me and pushing him out kind of with my belt, right into his back. And then the choke's there. Now, some people it's scary to separate your chest from their back because they're gonna weasel out. Maybe you don't trust your grip. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bait Russell into trying to escape by dropping my bottom hook. And then he thinks he's free, and I sit up. I'm not free. From here, what I don't want to be is down here by his scapula, by the middle of his back. I want to walk towards his head. I'm making him bow in with my arm, and now I'm going to put this hand behind his head, pull my elbow to my belly button. If Russell tries to shrimp out of here, and I can move to a tech mount, I don't want to hang out in tech mount too long. He's going to get his guard back, especially this guy. So I want to take an arm and collapse it, and I'm going to now move to sitting on my side. And this is way worse. Much harder for him to get his guard back, much harder for him to breathe. My knee back here is blocking in his back. My hip is on him. I don't want my hip off and my thigh on him. This is much easier for him to move around. We're here. Now, I can reach under his arm, hand that gi to myself. So same grip as when we have the back. And now this hand can go up and behind the head, and we can finish the wing choke from S-mount. It also just gives up all kinds of other options from here. Like, all the things he wants to do to fight this typically lead to either this arm bar, or I can push this hand down and step over the top and move into mounted triangles. But this wing choke is pretty solid, and it's also a nice way to move back in to a bow and arrow choke. Good, so those are all just hanging out.